everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press. Together we are Kenny and Renny. This is a Kenny and Renny After Dark, the Kenny and Renny post-game show. Feels always nostalgic when we do these things because, I mean, there's only like one trip a year, basically, where they do this, and we get this. We get these late night games like that. There's probably a couple. You know, they got the Canucks in there, and the Kings game they got out of the way, so you don't have to worry about that one. Although they're probably going back to LA. Regardless, there's a couple of these a year, so it's enough that it stands out in my mind. So I feel a little nostalgic, and thanks for the Jets to make it feel all that much more nostalgic, because for me, I felt like this was one of those throwback games. Now, I've said this before. Favorite game that Jets fans like is the game where the Jets get absolutely pumped and Connor Hellebuyck steals the game. That's a Winnipeg Jets favorite. That's my take on what I find you, the fans, love most about Winnipeg Jets games, is when the Jets just get absolutely worked by the opposition and Connor Hellebuyck comes in and steals. It goes with the superhero mythology. It works out. Your second favorite game, I find, are these ones, and you've heard me talk about these ones before. This, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is a good old-fashioned tortoise in the hare game. Winnipeg Jets playing that role. I see them come. Now, before I get into that, because I know where this is going already, people are going to get mad. They're going to be really upset. I did this a little while ago with the Buffalo Sabres game. I had people sending me hate mail for days afterwards. One of you, I hope you know who you are out there, kept messaging me and telling me how way off I was and how offside I was, and that the Buffalo Sabres were a really great team, and I was calling them down, or I am not really sure what the terminology was, but that I had it way wrong, and that was a phenomenal hockey game played between two really, really great teams, and the Buffalo Sabres haven't won since that game. I haven't heard back from you. You gotta get back and message me and let me know what you're thinking about the Buffalo Sabres right now. This wasn't that. And I'm going to say this San Jose Sharks team, I would really, if I were a fan and I was in that market, I'd be really happy watching that team. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're going to lose a lot of games. They're going to come out on the wrong side of games like they did tonight. But I like their compete. I like their youth. Clearly they've got, holes in their game. Their penalty kill is not, I wouldn't even say a work in progress. They're a little bit lost out there, but the rest of their game, and Macklin Celebrini, man, oh man, is he ever worth the price of admission? This isn't the Winnipeg Jets beating a bad team the way they did, keeping it close with the Buffalo Sabres and winning that game. This is a good game. It's a good hockey team out there. But if you're going to try and tell me that the Winnipeg Jets aren't a far more capable team than the San Jose Sharks, I'm going to tell you don't know what you're talking about. The Jets clearly a more capable team. When I talk about the tortoise and the hare thing, what I see is a Winnipeg Jets that's slow out of the blocks and then scoot out and score a goal, and now all of a sudden they're up 1-0. Finish the first period strong, come out and go to sleep for the first part of the second period as well, and then, game gets tied up, boom, scoot out, get another goal, and then kind of go to sleep all over again, and then have the San Jose Sharks come out, build up a lead, and then what do? You come down to the final stretch and you race through, you tie up the game, you win it in regulation. Everybody's happy. Everything's great. I'm not a big fan of these games. I've made it clear in the past. I don't like the tortoise and the hare things, because the way that the tortoise and the hare story ends up, and it has for the Winnipeg Jets year after year after year, when they fall into this kind of hockey where they just kind of go to sleep and then do these little spurts throughout the game where they look dominant, right? How often tonight did the first line look dominant for stretches of the game, and then the San Jose Sharks just take over for a while, and then boom, quick spurt, Jets go out, they score, here you go. This is, to me, classic tortoise and the hare, except the tortoise and the hare woke up enough tonight to get across the finish line. The problem with the tortoise and the hare strategy is that you can do that against teams like this. You can't do that against Vegas. You can't do that to the Dallas Stars when they get on top of their game. You can't do it to the Florida Panthers. And I just feel like I see more and more of these types of games. The Winnipeg Jets are in it. every single game now and pulling it out, and that's great. They use their power play to get out of it again on this night. I just don't think it's good hockey. I don't think it. Hey, we talked about when the Winnipeg Jets played the Florida Panthers and they came back the next game after getting run out of Florida's building, and they fought back and they punched Florida in the mouth. Those are the kind of things that you can bank to build you towards being a really good team at the end of the year and in the playoffs. This to me is the opposite. These are the kind of things that the Winnipeg Jets have done year after year after year. These kind of games where they just quick strike their way back into the game, end up winning games like this. You can think of dozens of examples of them doing it. I don't think it makes for a stronger hockey team come the playoffs. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe everything's different this year, and maybe the Winnipeg Jets are handling this exactly the way they should be, and they're going to go on in the playoffs, and they're going to show me wrong, and that they've figured this all out. I'm just saying, years past, we've seen this play out over and over again, and we see it. It hasn't helped them out come the postseason. Count me as not being a big fan of these victories. I think the Winnipeg Jets have far more to show. I think they showed it in 2, 3, 4 spurts in this game tonight and walk away with the victory. I don't think they walk away with a good blueprint and a good repeatable kind of blueprint to be a team that goes far when it gets important and when you're not playing the San Jose Sharks of the world. That's my take on this whole thing. Time to bring in the man with the bet. I love this. I've been saying this for years. And big hitters walking in and saying, weak Renny, like he hasn't heard of this before. I've had this take for so long, and it's just that evergreen take come the end of the year. But there's always people like Big Hitter who just can't swallow it. Regardless, time to bring in the man with the best music in the business. Here comes Kenny. Kenny, late night Kenny and Renny tonight. Looking
After
good
dark,
there.
buddy. Let's go.
After dark. Neither of us rocking the Vittorio look. It's going to be, I'm going to be reserving them for Saturday nights only. Saturday nights are for Frankie and the boys is basically my new slogan going into this, because those will be Hockey Night in Canada nights for the next 4, 5, 6 nights out, or Saturdays after this. And if you want Saturdays or any day of the week to be for Frankie and the boys, you know what to do. Head on down to Vittorio Rossi, loudly proclaim Kenny and Renny sent you. Ask for Frankie and the boys. They will do you up right. Kenny, this is one of those nights where I get to be the bad guy in front of everybody. You can choose to be the good guy. Let's see what direction you're going to go in here. What'd you make of that game?
Yeah, just first and foremost, had a good visit with Frankie and Manfred and Evan this week. Stopped by Vittorio Rossi myself. They're fired up for Christmas, ready to roll. Store is bumping. People are fired up for their Christmas gifts and things of that nature. So definitely head on down and tell them Kenny and Renny sent you. Didn't love the game personally. I don't think you're alone on that front. I mean, there's certainly pieces of it that
hitter's going to come for you. Look out. Big hitter's mad. He's already mad. But
Sean, as you know, I like to keep my head on a swivel out there. So I'm going to do my best to not get rocked.
I'm just saying the temperature's gone up in this game. And as your sometime protector, I'm just telling you, keep your head
good. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for protecting me. Yeah. I mean, there's pieces of the game. I mean, the finishing parts, sure. But I mean, you can't control. I mean, you can't forget what happened to get to the third period. I mean, there were parts of the game where the Jets were dominant. There were parts where the template was not in operation. I mean, power play. What I would say is this. I mean, what I like about how the Jets found a way, this wasn't a, hang up against the ropes, get punched, punch, and then counter punch. This was power play kind of bailing out a game where their 5-on-5 play was mostly mediocre. Beyond for the first 40 minutes, I think the only line that was generating much of anything offensively was the top line. I would say that the Adam Lowry line was absolutely dominant in the third period, really doing an incredible job. Nino Niederreiter absolutely robbed with the toe save by Georgiev. But, who's out there getting the game winner? I mean, in the warm-up, our game day newsletter for the Free Press, Sean, today I wrote about Lowry because, I mean, we talk about this before. It's like, take it for granted. I mean, this is a guy who is up to 9 goals on the year. 4 of them are game winners, Sean. So not only is he's scoring clutch goals for the Jets. One of them is in overtime. Today is in a game where, I mean, and Adam joking about it afterwards, saying, that was all my line mates and the guys I was out there with. The tip is absolutely absurd. I mean, it's a cross-body tip that Georgiev has no chance on. I mean, I mean, he joked earlier in the conversation that, what's going on with the recent hot streak? Well, I'm just a sniper. I mean, that like good deadpan for Lowry there, but outstanding job by that line to pick things up and join the party in the third. Now, again, I'm not taking anything away from Cole Perfetti. He had one really nice rush in the first period where he showed great awareness, had a nice net drive, good rush, showed great patience. But this was one of the games where, Sean, I mean, the fourth line didn't generate a whole lot, and neither did the second line for a chunk of that game. I mean, I'm not saying those guys played poorly. I just didn't find that they generated a whole lot. And the Sharks are not exactly a defensive juggernaut. So you need to generate a little bit more for me in a game like that. I'm not saying the Jets should have won this game 8-1. That's not what we're saying. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Sean. I think the San Jose Sharks are not they're definitely rebuilding mode. This is not a doormat that you walk in and beat 8-3 like they did in October when neither of Will Smith or Macklin Celebrini played.
Yeah.
They played hard. They are full value. And sorry, Wild Bill, San Jose is not a hockey town. I'm not even stopping with the buffet. That's ice cold take territory. I'm going to go pristine wake up call. Wild Bill, San Jose is not a hockey town. Come on, man. Where have you been? They were a good team for 20 years. That when they were good, they filled the Shark Tank for years. I was in the building the day they qualified for their first Stanley Cup in 2016, covering the conference final for Post Media between the Sharks and St. Louis Blues. The place was absolutely bananas. That's for full on. I'm stepping back from the buffet. This is pristine roofing and siding wake up territory for Wild Bill. Wild Bill, we love that you're in here every game, but that's a poor take that San Jose is not a hockey town.
Oh, Wild Bill having a rough go to start the Kenny and Renny After Dark show. Hey, have a coffee, shot of espresso, or
stay with us. Yeah, stay with us.
Or do this and give it's time for the pristine roofing wake up call. That means it's time to give North End Rick this is why I love the Kenny and Renny After Dark, because now it's a real painful wake up call for my guy North End Rick at 1-204-981-6289. You can also get a hold directly of Pristine Roofing at 204-237-7663. They're the people you want down for any of your roofing, siding, and exterior needs. Ken, continue on. You were halfway through.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm halfway through, but yeah, I mean, it's not the Jets' best. I mean, it's not their worst by any stretch. But I mean, all we were hearing about is how, the 2-day break was going to help them be sharp and allow them to dictate the game. And I didn't feel they dictated enough of this game. I liked a lot of what I saw from the Scheifele line. And, as we've talked about a lot, I mean, all of those people telling me that line can't work, have not heard a whole lot from them in the last stretch of games here. And yes, some of that damage was done on the power play. And yes, I recognize completely that the go-ahead goal by the Sharks was scored against the Scheifele line. There was I'm not sure if it was bad communication, but I thought originally that it was not a great pinch by Pionk, but I went back and looked at the replay, Sean. Pionk had already joined the offensive play. Kyle Connor was, he was covering up for him. He was the F3. And I think Kyle felt like the Jets were going to get a scoring opportunity, so he went into the high slot. And as Neil Pionk, Sean, I love this. And I mean, it's not a got you covered play of the game, but it would be one of the candidates. I mean, this was a sneaky play by Michael Granlund. Sean, as Pionk is trying to get back into the rush and try to not make it a 3-on-1, Granlund just sort of impedes his path just inside the blue line. And it's a super smart play. It wasn't enough to, warrant an interference call. And if it would have been called, I would think that Ryan Warsofsky would have gone crazy and been fined again. But it was a really smart, subtle play that allowed Zetterlund to explode on that 2-on-1 or almost 2.5 plus 1-on-1 play where he got the, Zetterlund rips the puck pass. So, it wasn't as bad a pinch as I thought by Pionk. Coverage sort of was lacking a little bit. But again, overall, that Jets top line generated a lot and didn't give up a whole lot. And I mean, they're going to give up goals. That's just the way it goes. But they were exceptional on the power play, and again, one goal at even strength, so they're an even in this one. But they generated the majority of the chances on a night where the Jets didn't generate enough until the third period for me. So we'll dig in a little more on some of the other stuff. Neil Pionk's 500th game. We'll get into that a little bit too. But overall, again, this is not a template game for them. They've now won 5 out of 7, 5 1-1. So that's 11 out of possible 14 points. I mean, it's a better stretch, but this wouldn't be, the coaching staff would not be sitting in the office saying, if the playoffs started tomorrow, they wouldn't be saying, man, we're absolutely peaking at the right time. I think that there are things that they did well and found a way. This is a found a way to winner. But I also don't think it was a terrible effort, but I don't think this was not crispy, for a Kyle Connor, a KFC special. This was not a crispy fried, zinger type of game for them. I didn't think it was their best. There were parts of it that were good. There were parts of it that need a clean up on aisle 6. And, there were parts that, still would be filed. It's a report card time for a lot of kids, Sean. There'd be a few neat improvements on the checklist today for me. Anyways, that's
I'm going to get into it because there's a lot of things I really like about the Jets game today, right? Like to me, it doesn't change the idea that there's underlying things I thought they did good right throughout the game. Their ability to elevate at certain time of the games is elite. They come away. I mean, there's a reason the Jets are now 14-3 against teams below the playoff line so far this year. People talked about it, and this is going to be it forever, Ken. We can't ever talk about a game in which the Jets slightly outperform a bottom team without people coming and saying, I love it. We always get it from Waiters. Waiters is always like, well, this good team lost to that bad team a couple of weeks back. I guess that means you guys are saying that team's a bad team. I don't think that's what we're saying at all. I think we've always said the Jets are really, really good. They were last year. They are again this year. The Jets are really, really good at coming away with victories against teams that are lower echelon teams. That's been their MO for a long time now. That's who the Winnipeg Jets are. They know how to put their foot on the throats of lower echelon teams, probably better than any other team in the league. I would love to crunch the numbers and take the last 3 seasons up to this point in the season and take the teams that finished below the playoff line and take everyone's record combined over the 3 years against those teams below the playoff line. I guarantee you the Jets are top 5 against those teams. I would think they're top 3, if not number 1 in the NHL, and making sure they win those games. My point is, when you get into like that, this is the kind of game that can work over and over again, repeatedly against lower echelon teams. My whole thing with this is it doesn't work when you're playing the upper echelon teams. And when you play too many of these kind of games, it starts to become a little bit of your DNA and who you are. So to me, it's just a little bit of okay, that's great. This is good, but the goal isn't to beat the San Jose Sharks in a barn burner storm back game in the middle of December. The goal is to make sure that you've got the kind of game that can compete at the end of the season. And my whole take on this is a game we've seen from the Winnipeg Jets over and over and over again since 2019. I'll say it again. Not a fan of these wins. These wins don't tell me a lot. They tell me that the Jets know how to squeak past teams that they're not going to need to be squeaking past when it comes to that time of year.
Sure. And Nicholas, Jets stumbling and bubbling into first place in the NHL. That's true. And again, we're not knocking the Jets for doing that. We're just saying if the Jets want to stay in first place in the NHL, they'll have to raise their level a little bit. That's all we're saying here. It's not being critical. That's a fact. I mean, the Jets had a little bit of a dip, and now they're trying to elevate their way back up. They've won. They're 5-1-1 in their last 7. That will help a team leapfrog a team like the one that went in front of them in the Minnesota Wild. So looking forward to Saturday's game. Saturday's game should tell us a lot about the Jets, where they are right now and the team that's chasing them. So, I mean, I just think they're going to have to elevate their game a little bit from the way they played today if they want to beat the Minnesota Wild on Saturday. And again, you can only play the teams in front of you, but they're going to have to elevate in certain areas in order to keep that momentum rolling along here. I mean, there's 49 games left, lots of season, but the Jets are full value for being in first place, not only in the Central Division and in the entire NHL. No one is taking that away from them. That they've earned it. But the goal, as Sean mentioned, the Jets want to show that they're more than a one and done type of team in the playoffs, and that there would be areas of their game that they would need to play better in if they want to go on a 4-round run and win 16 games. But there are also elements of their game that are playoff ready already. But the beauty of it is playoffs don't start until the middle of April. So lots to go from here.
Sorry, I just wanted to do this. This is Jefferson Peters very, very much flirting with being in my hot tub right now. He says, Rennie's teaching, not preaching. I love this line. I'm going to steal this line. I'm going to try and I think I'm going to take get a K&R shirt and do the teaching, not preaching. This is great.
I like it.
But I'm reserving the red hot take. Tristan Rivers, you need to get out of my hot tub because this is bang on. Why wouldn't you be critical of this game? He says, yes, they got the 2 points. That's good. But if you want to actually play for the cup, you have to be better than this and demand more, or else first round exit 3 times in a row. This is, I couldn't have said this better. Tristan Rivers absolutely nails this, which means, you know what, he must be sitting in my hot tub in the backyard, even though it's 1:00 in the morning right now, because there's no such thing as a cold take in an Arctic Spa's hot tub, especially the one like mine that has the Spa Boy package. If you're looking for that kind of hot tub that does everything just shy of being Kenny's hot tub time machine, head on down, talk to my boy Dustin at Arctic Spas. He will take care of you so that you can melt those ice cold takes away from now until the end of time. I'm going to do this as well.
That's why Tristan has made the music. He's in lockstep with what we're discussing.
He knows
this is what's up here.
That's why his music like cuts to the core of who we are, because he gets us. He's inside our heads and definitely inside my hot tub. Miller time, 1980. Great time to call it. I'm going to make it early because it's it's Kenny and Renny After Dark. What would Kenny and Renny After Dark be without a headband? So you know what that means. Time to make it Sean's headband version of the Kenny and Renny show. Man, that's a little bit of like, speak his name and he shall appear. Tristan Rivers comes in and rocks it after winning the Arctic Spa's hot take of the game. Ken, okay, I want to get into the positives because there's a ton of them to get into on this. Let's start with a guy who gets an assist in this game, but I just thought had one of the best games that we've seen him play since the last time he played the San Jose Sharks. But what did you see from Cole Perfetti tonight?
Yeah, a lot of poise from Cole. High end pass on the Scheifele one-timer, which again, this is not a surprise for anyone who's watched Cole Perfetti. Incredible vision. We talked about Cole being the kind, again, and speaking of ice cold takes, the people saying that it was Perfetti, disrupting the top unit. I mean, no, that's just not the case anymore. Cole needed some time to get more comfortable in it. Now he's more comfortable. Now he's making the type of passes that he's known for. And they're ended up in the back of the net, like the one-timer for Scheifele. I liked his 5-on-5 play. Specifically, I liked that one shift where he really showed a lot. It was almost like obviously it wasn't at the same speed, Sean, but the play in the offensive zone where he pulled an Ehlers. He kind of came out from around the net, walked around the outside of the perimeter, got it to the net, and then actually Jan Ruda made a really good play actually to prevent Perfetti from getting a better shot at it. But really like the poise and patience that he showed on that sequence. Again, I always say this about, I often say this about Cole. I'd like him to be a little bit more assertive when it comes to, in his offensive game. But today is a good example of what we wanted to see more of, right? So he's got 3 shots on goal and 5 shot attempts, right? So that's when Cole's really going. When he's getting that puck to the net, he's got a very good shot. I know he's a pass-first player, but he's the kind of guy. These are the conversations we had about Mark Scheifele when he broke into the league, Sean, right? This is a guy who's a pass-first player, but he has kind of that Sakic-like release. And that's something that Perfetti will be a 20-plus goal scorer when he's getting more pucks directed at the net. I think he's becoming more and more comfortable with that. And again, I loved a lot about his game today. The line wasn't as cohesive maybe as it had been the first couple of Chibrikov games out of the recall. Obviously, him blocking that shot with the inside of his right knee, I think impacted. Obviously, it impacted him. He left the game for almost half a period, and then kudos to him for coming back and showing the courage to being back in the hockey game, but he was bumped down to the 4th line. And, Alex Iafallo is an incredibly hard worker. I just didn't feel as though that line, generated the same amount as it had earlier on when Chibrikov was, had that first 2 game bump and everyone wanted to give him a spot on the team in the top 6 and lead pipe lock forever. But, again, I'll be surprised if Nikita Chibrikov is able to play tomorrow, Sean. Scott O'Neill was expecting that. That's kind of the injury that overnight probably you can manage it in real time, but probably going to be more difficult to, sort some things out as they move forward there. So anyways, not a knock on Chibrikov by any stretch. I mean, he did an incredible job getting in the shot lane again. He wasn't as effective offensively in the game, but I loved a couple of the shifts early on. That line did a nice job of getting the forecheck going, Sean. That's what I really liked about that line. They were tenacious on the puck, especially in the first period, as the Jets were a lot of the lines were kind of sleepwalking out of the gate, outshot, 8-4 or so. But that line was going early, and I liked a lot about their game, and I thought Perfetti was the guy that was driving the line today. So I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I love his forecheck, right? Like I love the forecheck and what he's been doing, maybe more than anything else. Like, that clearly tonight, the Jets did a really good job, and I'll dip into the power play a little bit before we get into it a little bit more, but you could see that the plan was for the San Jose Sharks to be aggressive on the power play, but you could see what was happening was they'd skate out to play the guy, the Jets would move it, and then the player would turn towards the net and skate back as fast as he could to the net. The problem with that is you're constantly getting guys going in the right direction, right? Like a good power play when it attacks stretches out and then recedes, stretches out and recedes. The San Jose Sharks were playing that game when you're playing keep away, and the guy just keeps running as hard as he can at the guy with the ball. Then you throw it away, and then he turns and he runs as hard as he can at that guy. That does not work. And what it ended up doing was guys get lost in their coverage, and then you can see what they do is they go to home plate and they compress. And that's what the Jets, that's where they're best. If you think about how they scored that goal on the 5-on-3 on Montreal, they basically act like they're just pressing those 3 players down close to the net. And that's how you can pass it straight over to Kyle Connor and get him an absolute all the time in the world to hammer the puck the way that he did. Tonight, it's the same deal. Everyone's kind of running around and getting compressed. And then if you can get that pass over like Cole Perfetti does, when you isolate that one player in between he and Mark Scheifele, he can make the pass that he can make. lots of room out there for him to do that. I think we've established in the past that when Cole Perfetti has room, he can get really offensive. But in the meantime, I like the grittiness of his game, the forecheck. You talked about that second line in the first period. I thought they were the Jets' best line. They didn't have the sorry, I guess they did. They had the power play goal. But just really, really good job. I like the way that he handles the puck on the boards. I like the way he uses his body. He doesn't forecheck like a grinder, right? Like he's not coming in and he's not bruising and he's not going to wear you down, but he's just really, really good at puck positioning, getting the puck in a spot where the other guys can't get to it. I thought this was a really great example of his game. One of my favorite Cole Perfetti games, probably this year. I think Kevin Sawyer on the broadcast had said that he thought he was playing the best hockey of his career. I'm not going to argue with that. I think that was just a real good example of if Cole Perfetti keeps doing those kind of things, it's going to lead to more and more opportunities, more and more turned over pucks, more and more of those kind of grinding goals that we haven't seen enough of, if we're being honest, from the second line. They need to get to more of that. I think you add Nikolai Ehlers back in there. He's going to come back to a line that's a little bit more capable to create that chaos. And then you're going to see with that kind of offensive talent, it's going to turn into something. But for me, really liked Cole Perfetti's game in this game here tonight. I've been saying, I talked about it on Winnipeg Sports Talk the other day, and I just the idea that Nikita Chibrikov, the way that he's been playing, hard to take him out of the lineup. When Nick Ehlers comes back in, for sure you're going to put him back in. I've floated the idea on this show before of, if Chibrikov keeps doing what he's doing, and if Perfetti keeps, kind of having these stretches where he falls asleep, maybe move those two in there. What Cole Perfetti showed me on this night is as good as Nikita Chibrikov has been. When Cole Perfetti plays to the best of his abilities, he takes his game to a place Nikita Chibrikov is not capable yet of taking his game to. So that's what I want to see from Cole Perfetti, is more of him just showing that he's got a standard that guys like Brad Lambert can't come in and reach. Guys like Nikita Chibrikov can't come in and reach. And I think after that, the points will take care of themselves with that player. Let's move to the power play, since we kind of touched on it a little bit. But boy, oh boy, they are starting to look like they did at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, the puck movement is exceptional. Some of the passing that is happening here, I mean, the pass by Perfetti is absolutely elite. I mean, we talked about the pass that Kyle Connor made, absolute beauty, waiting until the stick of Matheson is on the other side just for a brief split second and ripping it up to the back door to Velarde. I mean, it wasn't quite like that, but I mean, Velarde's pass across to Kyle Connor on the GWG is really smart. And again, it looks like an easy play, but this is not an easy play. There's heavy traffic where Velarde is with the puck on his stick, and his cross ice pass has to get through a couple potential landmines there. And then the shot by Kyle Connor. And again, it's so funny, Sean. I mean, we're watching the post-game video of the interviews, and Kyle's just kind of nonchalantly saying it was, no big deal. I just had a shot and I took it. it's barred down and Georgiev has no chance of getting it. But, and again, the pass by Perfetti, as I mentioned, to Scheifele is just an absolute beauty. And Sean, we talk all the time. I mean, the one thing that we didn't see from Mark Scheifele earlier on in his career was that wicked one-timer, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we saw one-timers from the high slot because Patrick Laine played the wide slot, the OV spot where the one-timer was much more prevalent. We saw quick wristers or quick snappers from the slot by Scheifele, but man, is he ever starting to hit one-timers with absolute vigor?
Yeah.
He had two beauties in the game. One's a goal and one is a candidate for the keg save of the game. I mean, quite frankly. So that's been really good. Josh Morrissey doing a great job at the top. I like the interchanges. I like the movement. I liked at one point that, one of the issues that Mark has had over the years when the power play got stagnant was the dusting off of the puck on the hash marks, on the strong side, at the Ovi spot. At one point they had so much movement that Velarde had the puck along that half wall, and there's been a lot of great interchanges with Morrissey and Kyle Connor. So to me, that is really something that they're taking to another level. And like I said earlier, I think Perfetti is getting a lot more comfortable in that pop position in the high slot. And again, there were 4 players touched the puck in about a 10-second span, right, Sean? I mean, 4 guys touched the puck in less than 10 seconds, and it ends up in the back of the net, which that is the sign of a power play that has multiple options and is dangerous. So to me, we knew this was coming, and Davis Payne knew this was coming. They knew there was going to be a lull, but the lull has been replaced by strong puck movement and going to different spots and throwing different wrinkles out there, because the teams are going to adapt. And again, this is something that Kyle Connor was talking about with the members of Jets TV that were on the scene. I mean, some opponents have been very passive in how they're playing against them. Some have been very aggressive. So they have plays that attack both of those, deployments, and they're having success again. So that's a smart job by them. Again, it starts with the plan by Davis Payne, but again, ultimately execution is what needs to happen. But I really think that Davis Payne has done just an exceptional job. And I mean, how about, we mentioned it before, but tonight's another great example, Sean, of, the payoff, right? I mean, this would be a good spot to transition over to that, I think.
Well, yeah.
With what he's doing on the power play.
How many times has it paid off?
It's well deserved.
Over and over and over again. It's, no doubt. I mean, Davis Payne, what he's done here, it's kind of, it almost makes me think like he came from Ottawa last season, right? The very interesting part of this, Ken, is the conversations that must happen when head coaches are auditioning, potential coaches and coming in, and that's the beauty of it. You get every coach to come and say, here's how I would fix this, and here's how I would fix that. We can say what we want about Davis Payne and what he's done, and clearly that's been absolutely huge. But I'll say this, Scott Arniel would have been the guy who sat in and interviewed that coach, and whatever he sold him on, Scott Arniel was able to see the vision and make sure that he brought the right guy. So Scott Arniel making that decision, that really paid off. And if you're looking to pay off high interest credit cards or debt, we suggest you go talk to our friends at Cambrian Credit Union about their payoff loan. They can show you how taking out a loan to pay off your debt actually gets you debt free faster, and you can save thousands of dollars. Go to cambrian.mb.ca to book an appointment online. Wanted to bring up a point before we move on here. Okay, this is the one. Just this is, I get how people are upset with us having this conversation right now. If you've been on this show, I can remember back in like 2020, 2021, everyone's saying this exact same thing. Are the playoffs starting tomorrow? So people here just want us to shut up and say, it's great. They won. They got 2 points. Everything's good in Jetsville. This is the best. The reason why I personally think this matters, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but what I've suggested over the years is when the Winnipeg Jets play games like these, and I say I don't like these kind of wins, the reason I don't like these kind of wins is because I think this kind of play pops itself up at bad times in the year. When you have as many games like this as the Winnipeg Jets seem to have, where you win, and that's fine, but when you have as many, to me, it pops up again. So game 6, St. Louis, 2019, where the Winnipeg Jets halfway through that game had 5 or 6 shots on net. And, the questions come afterwards. How did this happen? To me, that's how that happens. When you play this kind of game repeatedly, which this team has done in every season I can think of since 2019, then that be, like I said, it becomes part of your DNA. It becomes part of who you are. So this is why I think that matters. But listen, again, Nelson Gaspar Drive says, it's not the playoffs right now. And I hear a lot of you out there, and a lot of you are saying they got a whole bunch of time to get their game in order. Well, how's that worked out for them in years past is my question. Like that you guys keep saying to me, oh, you can't say that this has something that goes to the playoffs, but you who are saying saying, oh, it's no big deal, plenty of time for them to figure it out, can't seem to give me a reason why the Winnipeg Jets, when they get to the playoffs, aren't figuring it out. And they're having, monumental collapses like the one that they had last year or the one they had late the season going before that. So that to me is where I'm coming from. I hope I make it clear. I think it's important the Jets win these games. I like the idea that they're able to elevate. I want to talk a little bit more about things I thought they did really good in this game. But if you think that we're just harping and we shouldn't be doing this because, the playoffs are a long ways away, I think this matters. I think playing too many games like this matters and can affect you down the road, which is why I would like to see them stumped out a little bit more. I don't need them to win 7-1 every night. What I do need is for them not to go to sleep for wide swaths of the game and let a team like this control the vast majority of the play before they, fall behind in the race and then sprint and catch them and pass them and win the game at the finish line. I do want to say this, Ken, but before I do it, I'd like you to give Sweet Lou a shout out.
You bet. And quickly, Roy Mack, the expectation is Comrie will play against the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, the Jets that's how they've handled their back-to-back so far, and that's our expectation. I mean, we're not on scene, so we weren't able to ask Gardner Neal, but that is what we would expect. But for folks who have realty needs you'd like to have met, whether you have a listing you'd like listed or if you're looking to buy, Lou Ferlin is your guy at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's LOU@LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of the community, and including this podcast, for which we are thankful. Had a great visit with Lou. I popped in this week to see him. He's fired up for the holiday season, enjoying the Jets season as well. And he's ready to help you with your business, whatever you have.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things in years past that I think the Jets relied on a little bit too much, but it's great to have, clearly, is Connor Hellebuyck, the number one goaltender in the world. I will say this, the reason I think that the Winnipeg Jets fall into a little bit of this, it's an ability to be able to kind of go to sleep and consistently get outshot and then, surge afterwards, because I take a look at this game tonight and I actually love how the Jets played defensively for the most part. Like, if you take a look at this wasn't a tough game for Connor Hellebuyck. There weren't a lot of really, really tough shots. I didn't see, it stands out to me. And I thought, was that on the power play?
Celebrini.
Yeah. No, not Celebrini. Tyler Toffoli getting the 3 or 4 whacks at the puck in front of the net.
Yep,
but other than that, I didn't notice this night home plate chances other than, the first goal gets in there. Yeah. Boom. They get in there once, it's in the back of the net. But for the most part, I felt like the vast majority of shots that Connor Hellebuyck faced on this night were from distance. And so I feel like maybe why we're seeing what we're seeing. And this is why I think it turns to, now you play the Minnesota Wild after you play these games and the Jets get vastly outshot. And then the Vegas Golden Knights come into town and they get vastly outshot, is because you get into this rhythm of sitting back and waiting for the other team to sag, right? Because you're not allowing anyone to get in. You're not allowing a lot of really great shots. You're comfortable and you're confident. And I think the Winnipeg Jets, that's a really good thing that the Winnipeg Jets have, that they've got a defensive structure that they can just sit back in and they can survive. They almost won against the Vegas Golden Knights like that. But the difference on a night like tonight compared to that night against the Vegas Golden Knights is, what you see from the Winnipeg Jets is they sit back. All of a sudden the shots are 8-4, 9-4, and then boom, the Winnipeg Jets go. And what it is they're rope-a-doping, right? They're sitting back. They're letting the San Jose Sharks kind of tire themselves out, and then boom, they head up ice and they control wide swath of plays. And usually they score very quickly, right? And we see them do that time and time again. I don't like their reaction to it. I think that game should be a way of not just saying, let's hunker down and let the bombs come. It should be like, let's handle 1 or 2 bombs with this and then get down the ice. So the difference for me is, a night like tonight against the San Jose Sharks are going to slough or sag, and then the Winnipeg Jets go and they're dominant for a little while. They chose to be dominant at the end of the game. They win the game. That's great. The difference between this game and the Vegas game is Vegas just doesn't slag like that. They don't fall down like that. So what ends up happening is you just spend the vast majority of the game sitting back and just trying to survive that game. It's a great thing the Winnipeg Jets have. Their defensive system, I think, is one of the best in the league. It allows them to survive a lot. It allows them for a night like tonight to survive in a way where they didn't really have to rely on unbelievable saves from Connor Hellebuyck. So I do think on full display tonight was a really, really great defensive effort by the Winnipeg Jets. I just didn't like the way they sat into it and were almost okay with it and just kind of waited for the San Jose Sharks to punch themselves out.
Yeah, and just quickly, I mean, a natural stat trick, they had the chances, high dangers at 9-6 for the Jets in this one, so it 5-on-5. So that supports your theory as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's 2 power play goals allowed is probably too many. Jets did a better job against Montreal on the penalty kill, but today was a little. And again, I wouldn't say it's leaky today. I didn't like the Toffoli goal. Neil Pionk kind of got caught in between there. Great pass, obviously, but Toffoli is the kind of guy you got to be aware of in that scenario. Sorry, that was an even strength goal to Foley. So there was just the one power play marker, but I didn't love that goal. 2 things specifically, and yes, obviously Connor Hellebuyck was screened by Alex Wenberg. I didn't love that. I would have liked to have seen Logan Stanley get over to him a little bit sooner, personally. But to me, Connor Hellebuyck's a big guy. I mean, that's a backhand along the ice, right? I mean, that's you're either. I didn't even see where it went through him, to be honest. But to me, that's one that he won't like. I'm not going to say he had to have it, but I would say it's probably not going to be one that he liked. But he never likes anything that goes past him. But I just think that it's from where that goes on the on the charting of the. I mean, again, tough when you can't see it, of course, but. I didn't love. I wouldn't say that's a breakdown of the penalty kill, but I also think they could have played it better. They could have been a little bit more aggressive to Celebrini, and I also think that Stanley could have got over to Wenberg and maybe tried to get him cleared out of the front of the net a little bit sooner.
Let's get to the before we get too far. Let's get to the first line because another line tonight that I just thought was I was impressed by Celebrini, no doubt. You and I were talking about it. I think that he's ahead right now in his career of where Connor Bedard was at the same point last year. I think that's saying a lot. 2 points tonight means he's operating at a point per game pace. There's the last 2 players, I think, to score at a point per game pace as 18-year-olds can. I'm fairly certain I'm correct on this, but the last one was Connor McDavid. The last one before that was Sidney Crosby. And then the last one before that is either Jaromir Jagr. Yeah, it's Jaromir Jagr after that. So like you are talking about legendary players who are doing that at the age of 18. Celebrini, the youngest ever Hobey Baker trophy winner, means that he's like a young 18-year-old walking in and playing the way that he's playing here. Very impressive. Now, that said, I just thought that there's an IQ level. There's just like the way that I mean, you talked about it, that little play that Velarde does to start that first goal there. Gabe Velarde, just the way they handled their stick, the way that they find each other. There were opportunities. Kyle Connor very easily could have got a hat trick on this night. I just think that right now, the Winnipeg Jets are living off of the offense that's being brought by their top line, which is what you want, no doubt. They're just at an elite level right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the board that they put up on the broadcast, the TSN broadcast, had them at 29 points. That was before, or was that after the third goal? I'm not even 100% sure. Either way, they've been responsible for more than half the offense in this 8-game stretch. So I mean, that's an impressive number. The play in question, I mean, great stretch pass by Dylan DeMello. Really good job by Gabe Velarde to box out, or it's sort of like a reverse box out. He leverages Jake Wallman to get to the position where only his stick can get it, and he chips it past to create the 2-on-1 rush. And then just absolutely exceptional patience by Scheifele, first and foremost. The defenseman is just expecting him to pass, or he's expecting him to pass. Mark just waits on him, and he finally like waits until the last second where the stick lane is open and he gets it over to Connor, and Connor again doesn't panic, doesn't go for the reverse 1T. He drags it across and buries the play. But I mean, that's just a really smart stretch pass, but a great job by Velarde of getting inside position there. Velarde 3 assists in the game, absolutely awesome game for him, I thought. Really good job of, the puck protect. That line is getting back to Sean when they're rolling. Puck protection again. They're having those churning shifts where they're absolutely, grinding the opponent into the ground, and they're really doing an exceptional job on that front. So for me, I'm super impressed by what they've been able to do. And just quickly, sorry for LP in the chat room, we're not ignoring you. I don't want to speak for Sean, but I have not had a chance to listen to the podcast with Blake Wheeler and Andrew Ladd, so I don't have any thoughts to share right now. I mean, it might be a topic we explore down the road. I mean, leadership has been a hot topic, certainly in the chat room for years, but I can't speak to it because I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. So just thanks for your patience. We'll get to it at another time.
I hadn't even heard of it. Where's the podcast? Who did the podcast? Or did they
something
do it
with someone they used to work with? They did it together with someone they had worked with previously.
So it's like the Ladd and Wheeler podcast?
No, it's with it's with someone that they used to work with, a mental skills coach, I think. Okay. But they do it together. So they talk about leadership and things of that nature. So, I mean, it's probably a topic worth exploring, but I'm not able to, neither one of us are able to explore today. So
you were just talking about them churning. What I love about it is so I've talked about this before, and why I thought that the Winnipeg Jets power play is the first one goes out, and then it's like a differing philosophy for the second one. So what happens is, if you think you've got it figured out and you catch your defending PK on a split shift, then all of a sudden you think you've got the first power play figured out, and the second power play is entirely different. What I kind of love about the Winnipeg Jets line is Gabe Vilardi just has like stupid good hands, right? So if there's if you're trying to chip the puck past him on the boards, he's probably going to just knock it out of the air and control it, right? But not only does he have those hands, but he's got a huge reach, and he's a really tall guy, so he's really good at body positioning and getting his body, the puck on the other side of his body and away from you. Kyle Connor just does it with speed and deception, right? Like, if you think about how he goes, it would be a nightmare to be a defender following Kyle Connor and seeing his back and him skating towards the board to pick up the puck, because you have no idea where he's going to go. You don't know which way he's going to turn. And even if he turns to the left and you move to the left, he probably just button hooks and ends up going right, and you're gone the wrong way. So he does it with speed. And Mark Scheifele is kind of like the perfect mixture of both. So as if you're a defender and you at one point in a shift on these long churning shifts, you end up having to defend against Gabe Vilardi, and then they switch, which they do because they go all over the ice, and now all of a sudden you're defending Kyle Connor. It's so hard to figure that out, because trying to fit they're both so good at what they do, you're probably not going to figure it out anyways. But even as you're trying to figure it out, you're trying to figure out how to take it away from this guy who has a totally different skill set from this guy. It just makes them really dangerous. And that, to me, is the healthiest sign. So while I've talked about this in this game, I want to make sure I say I thought their defensive structure was, for the most part, really, really healthy tonight. I thought Cole Perfetti's game and that forecheck was really, really healthy tonight. And I thought that churning style that we're seeing the first line play is really, really healthy. So unlike that Sabres game where everyone was trying to tell me it was a masterpiece and I thought it was two teams playing a bad game, and that's why I wasn't overly impressed with it, I've got a lot more faith in the San Jose Sharks. I think they're like the Montreal Canadiens, a good bad team. If you don't play well, they're going to catch you. They've caught plenty of people. And I think there's a lot of really, really good things about the Winnipeg Jets on this night. I've made it clear I'm not going to go back on the things that I think the Jets should be trying to get away from. But there's plenty in this game for me to say you're building off that. This is a team that's getting better, and I like major things about this win and where the Winnipeg Jets are. I'd like to see them do that and do it more consistently throughout the game. Ken, we got to get rolling here. What's your Johnson Group got you covered play of the game?
Yeah, I still think it. I mean, I mentioned the honorable mention is Colin Miller preventing a backdoor tap in for Tyler Toffoli, but I do think it's the Chibrikov block. I mean, just another great example of the young man just trying to do everything that he can to stay in the lineup. This is a blistering one timer from Jan Ruda. Originally, it looked like I thought it got him in the foot, but after the replay, it definitely caught him on the inside of the knee on the right leg, just based on how he was helped off the ice. Incredible that he came back at all. This is a guy who's trying to do everything that he can to stay in the lineup. I said it to you during the game, Sean. Scott O'Neill kind of said it after the game. He said that he wasn't feeling his best, Chibrikov, after that, and also obviously the matchups they were trying to get him out against the young lad as well. So I like the fact that Scott O'Neill wanted to try to see if he could help generate a little bit of offense like he had been on that second line when he was down on the fourth line with Kapari and Barron. And again, I thought those guys were fine. But I mean, it wasn't an automatic thing that said, oh man, of course, Chibrikov is going to knock someone out of the lineup when Ehlers comes back. I mean, and quickly, Ehlers, we're not sure if he'll play on Wednesday against the Anaheim Ducks. Scott O'Neill said that would be a tomorrow question. So we'll see what happens there. But I would expect him back at the latest on Saturday. I'll be curious to see how they manage the next couple of days. I think there's a chance we could see Ehlers against the Ducks on Wednesday, but I definitely expect to see him on Saturday against the Wild. So we'll see how it goes from there. But yeah, definitely Chibrikov with the block, as is my got you covered play of the game.
Yeah, someone had mentioned Adam Lowry getting into. I thought that was kind of when Celebrini went after, who was it?
Well, first it was hit by Niederreiter. That was a response to Celebrini. Kind of got him behind the net after that play there, and Nino kind of gave him a bump, and then Josh kind of pushed him over at the end of it. So, and then Lowry getting in. I mean, on Jan Ruda. So,
you know what I love the most about this is on the pyramid of guys you are not allowed to touch, right? At the very, very top is your star goaltender, right? If someone ran Connor Hellebuyck, imagine what the response would be. The next is your young franchise superstar, I think. So Maxim Celebrini, but then your next after that is your superstar. So what I love about that play is that Celebrini is doing his thing, and Josh Morrissey comes over and gives it to him. I think in the terms of the ranking, San Jose should be more mad, but the reaction by Adam Lowry is don't touch our superstar, don't touch our Team Canada defenseman, right? And that's the right response from your team. You want to say, I don't care if he touched your young superstar. I don't care if he won the Hobey Baker. I don't care if he's, a point per game 18-year-old. You don't touch Josh Morrissey. That's how it goes. And I'm Adam Lowry, because Adam Lowry said so, kind of thing. I absolutely love that. Anyways, that's the Johnson Group got you covered play of the game for me. And of course, do you run a small business in Canada? Look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. Kenny, your hashtag the keg save of the game.
Yeah, I can't get away from the Hellebuyck was steady enough and made a couple good saves, including one off Celebrini, I believe. But I can't get over the play by Niederreiter to cut to the middle. And actually, I love the fact that Niederreiter in full speed actually grabs Celebrini's stick to prevent him from poke checking him when he tries to go across to the forehand, and he just kicks out the right leg. And again, it's been a tough year for Georgiev. Has been already been traded, but for whatever reason, he kind of has had some success. Yes, I understand he gave up 7 in the first game, but he's had some success against the Jets. And again, today he made a couple really good saves in that game. The one-timer off Scheifele, and then the save off Niederreiter was a big one. I'm going to choose that one. And again, it's because a good play was made on both sides. This was not a Niederreiter flubbed his chance. He dragged it out as wide as he could and was still stopped by the right pad of Georgiev.
I'll go with it. I'm okay with that. Doesn't matter though what you and I think, Ken. Matters what the folks at home think. Share with us your hashtag the keg save of the game. You're automatically entered to win a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. Each location finer than the last. And the winner from the last show, that would be Wesley Fallis. Wesley Fallis, you know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your name. Send me an email. I'll have the fine folks at the keg send you a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg, each location finer than the last. And that brings us to our hashtag TCB lamplighter. Ken, what do you got?
Yeah, lots of highlight reel specials, but I'm going Lowry GWG. We talk about repeatable goals all the time. Really good job by Appleton. Appleton across to DeMello. DeMello gets a shot through the lane, and Lowry with an exceptional redirection for the game-winning goal with 1:13 to go. That's the lamplighter for me.
That would usually be mine, repeatable goals because of that and game winner. I love those kind of goals. But I just think at the beginning of the year, Kyle Connor had that shot looking like it was just absolutely unstoppable. It looks like that again right now. There was a little bit of a time where the sight seemed to be a little bit dialed out, or he just wasn't kind of bearing those things. This is kind of back to that thing where it just looks like if you give Kyle Connor any kind of space or time to pick a corner, he's going to pick a corner and it's going to be a goal. So I'm going to take both those, but it doesn't matter what I take or if I try and cheat by taking 2 the way that I just did. Matters what you think. Share with us your hashtag TCB lamplighter, and you're automatically entered to win a frosty, delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale brought to you by our friends at Trans-Canada Brewing Company. If you can't wait for Kenny and Renny to gift you your frosty, delicious 8-pack, you can head on down to 11290 Kenniston, join them in their tap room and get your own, or join in for some of the food, some of the pizza, some of the good times. They always have such good music down there. Great place to go spend some time. And if you're like TSN camera guy Freddie, you love the Christmas orange. It's I think it's the same base as the blueberry, but it's got the Christmas orange flavor. Freddie absolutely loves it. It is good stuff. Anyway, that's it for us, Ken. Anything to say before we go?
No, I think that'll do it. It'll be a fun game tomorrow. I'll be interested to see Jacob Trouba bringing a little edge to the game in for the Anaheim Ducks. Jets with another back-to-back here. It's another good opportunity for Eric Comrie, and we'll see if they can keep things going. I mean, Josh Morrissey talked about it with Paul Edmonds on the pregame show. Jets are, now they're down to 3 games before the break. See what they've got in store.
I got to say this almost could have, Nicholas could have been in my hot tub in the backyard saying this to me. He says, I can't, could you stop pressing that, please?
I was trying to get out of it.
What are you doing? Okay. He says, I can't recall a standout save worthy of keg save of the game. To be honest, it's been a long night. I don't think it's been a long night. This goes back to the point we were trying to make about this is actually a night where the Winnipeg Jets defense is really, really good. There wasn't a lot of challenges to Connor Hellebuyck on this night. So give the Winnipeg Jets credit for that. You know who you should give credit to if you enjoy the conversations happening in this space? You should give credit to our sponsors who fight to keep the conversation going. Oh, I never gave away the lamplighter. Lamplighter is Running Man. Running Man. I knew I forgot something. Running Man, you know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name. Send me your email, and I will have the fine, or I will send you a voucher for a frosty, delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale brought to you by our friends at TCB. It is the nectar of the gods. And again, if you would appreciate our sponsors, that's Vittorio Rossi, Cambrian Credit Union, Pristine Roofing, Sweet Lou Ferlin, Arctic Spas, the Johnston Group, Trans-Canada Brewing Company, and the Keg. Thank you to them. Thank you to all of you. We will reconvene for another late night K&R, doing it all over again tomorrow after the Winnipeg Jets play the Anaheim Ducks. We'll chat with you then. Bye-bye.